Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate all of your support. Hope you're having a fantastic day. As always, shout out to the 19 Sophie Cunningham has gotten herself in hot water again. Maybe she should stop speaking. I am, of course, kidding. I like that. I like her honesty. I think it's refreshing. It's entertaining. It gives us something to talk about. And the other day, she talked about the WNBA expansion. For those who don't know, three new ones announced: Detroit Rock City, um, Cleveland, and of course, Philadelphia. They are not. I'm telling you, from everything I've seen from the WNBA in the last year plus, they are not and will never be ready for Philadelphia. Even some of the stuff I've seen recently about the Fever fans, like now that they won, people are like, "Oh, Natasha Howard's amazing," and if you don't support Natasha Howard, you're not a real fan. And other people are like, "Oh, now that we've done this, can we no longer have any negative comments or criticism whatsoever about Stephanie White or any of the Indiana Fever?" And I'm like, "Hello, hello." Have you been a sports fan before? And I'm like, yeah, if that's the attitude, there are a lot of places you aren't going to make it, including, oh, I don't know, New York, but definitely not Philadelphia. We absolutely are not going to play nice. We support our teams with a passion you will not find anywhere else, but we do not play nice. But Sophie Cunningham's had some interesting comments about the WNBA and its expansion choices. And then we had some reactions as well, which we got to get into because it's kind of funny.
NBA side because it is helpful. It's way more helpful. You just get more placements, more opportunities, and so I get that aspect. But I also think that you want to listen to your players too. Like where do they want to play? Where are they going to get excited to play and draw fans? And I do think that Miami would have been a great one. Like everyone loves Florida. Nashville is an amazing city. Kansas City, amazing opportunity. There's a huge arena downtown that no one's using, and I think that the women's soccer league is showing that like people draw, and so I'm not so sure what the thought process is there. But at the end of the day, you also want to make sure that you're not expanding our league too fast. I think that's also another thing that you don't want teams to totally dominate and then have teams that aren't. And so I just think that it's kind of a hard decision-making team or situation. But man, I don't know how excited people are to be going to Detroit or Cincinnati. NBA side.
Okay, now I realize that was probably really difficult to hear. I had everything cranked up as high as I possibly could, but she made a few comments there. She was talking about the players. These are not destinations where the players are going to want to play. She talked about, Nashville being a good choice, Miami being a good choice, Kansas City and the Patrick Mahomes ownership group being a good choice, and that she just didn't think, and she referenced the NWSL, which is soccer, talked about that, right? They went to Kansas City as well, and how well they're doing there, and that these teams were supported, and that places like Detroit and Cleveland, which she mentioned specifically. She did not mention Philadelphia, my friends. Actually, she did misspeak. A lot of people are getting on her case for that. She did misspeak and say Cincinnati when she meant Cleveland, and talking about how, these aren't exactly places players want to play. And then she also talked about the worry about the expansion happening too fast. So I want to address all these. First of all, Sophie Cunningham got a lot of backlash. We had things like, right, City of Cleveland. Sophie, your teammate, doesn't seem to think Cleveland is too bad. We're proud to have been chosen to host the WNBA team, and any player who comes here will feel that legendary passion Cleveland sports fans show our teams. Now, this, of course, they had to use Caitlin Clark, and this is when she was in Iowa, of course, and she talked about going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and on and on. But we have let me just check something. I didn't know this was here. Let me see if this is any louder for you.
NBA side because it is helpful.
It is not. Uh, So, city of Cleveland was a little upset, but as someone I think said here, Cleveland is ranked as the fifth deadliest city in America. Detroit is fourth. That's right. Philadelphia is not in the top 10. So take that. Cleveland sucks, bro. Sophie Cunningham has so much motion that she has the city of Cleveland and Detroit Twitter accounts coming after her. It is Sophie and her fans against the world. Now, here's what I found funny, and I know I'm going to upset some people, but I am not. I am not on the side of the ridiculous things like changing sports names. Okay. I think it is an absolute joke. It is a joke. They've turned the franchise into a joke, changing the iconic Cleveland Indians into the Cleveland Guardians. I'm sorry, City of Cleveland. You have no standing to talk about anything related to sports when you are so unbelievably spineless that because a few mouth breathing, low IQ doorknob screamers are upset about the name of your team with the generic Indians, also for my high school. They didn't change it, by the way, Cleveland. That you actually change. Cleveland Indians have been around forever, and you changed it to the freaking Guardians. So you need to just sit down and take a timeout in the corner. And interestingly enough, we're going to follow that up with another player, professional player, Yakeem Noah. He's talking a little bit about
I just
playing
stayed in
in
my hotel
Cleveland.
room, man. Every time I look out my window, it's pretty depressing out here, man. It's bad. It's bad.
So you're not going out.
No, no going out in Cleveland, man. It's all factories.
Do you regret anything that you said about Cleveland?
Not at all.
Well, there you go. Now, I want to address a couple other points a little more seriously. Like one thing with what Sophie Cunningham's saying is I think she's a little bit wrong about what players want. Because first of all, a lot of the players will probably not be players who are currently in the league. At least not eventually. They'll obviously have the expansion draft and so forth. But a league who's doing it properly, when you're expanding, even when you're starting a league with your initial franchises, it is what is the city that is most going to benefit the league, i.e., where the franchise and the team is going to get a lot of support and be able to grow within the league and be successful to where it's like, a year into it, we're not thinking, oh my God, this team might fold and what are we going to do and all that. So you have that in general. The WNBA, the other thing that you have as well, what you may have noticed, look at the expansion teams. Golden State, Toronto, right? Golden State, Toronto, Detroit, uh, Cleveland, Philadelphia, and see, I just completely blanked. There's one more. Let me know in the comments below what that other one is, but I'm pretty sure it is the same thing as I'm about to say, and that is they all have NBA franchises. See, that is one of the big problems with the WNBA is they're being intertwined with the NBA. So I'm sure that played a factor as well. Plus, it's the WNBA, as a lot of people were pointing out. And some people were before the picks were saying anyway. All of course, race got into the issue because people talked about you know places like Nashville or Kansas City or Miami being in red states or red leaning states or red leaning cities. Almost all huge cities are blue, but Miami in the past election with like the Hispanic population and so forth, actually, I think might have gone. Let me know in the comments. No, I don't want to get in a political discussion, but I think it might have leaned red, and so I don't, a lot of people are like, I don't think that's what the WNBA wants either. The last point, though, I want to wrap this up. But the last point that Sophie made that I thought was really good that I do agree with is expanding too fast, right? The WNBA is trying to capitalize on this moment with Caitlin Clark that they're also going to destroy, and they're risking destroying the league because we've talked about this before. Now there are 13 teams, but there were 12 last year. There were not enough good basketball players to have 12 teams, right? The WNBA does not have enough good players to have 12 teams. Now maybe you say, oh well, there's some good players in Europe, and maybe they'll come over if the salaries are larger and all of this, but in 2030, there will be 18 teams 5 years from now. 50% increase in teams over 5 years. And if the CBA, one thing that should be in the CBA that I agree with, and I hope the league and the players agree with as well, is expanding the roster to 14 or 15 players. So now you're adding players to every team and you're increasing the number of teams by 50% when you don't have enough quality players for the teams that you have now, which means guess what? The product gets worse. Can you believe we're saying this? The product declines. The product that you're putting on the court gets worse. How exactly are you going to draw in enough fans to support a league of 18 teams when the product is going to be worse than when no one supported the league previously? Oh my goodness, it's absolutely wild and fascinating. But anyway, I thought that was just really interesting, and it was interesting to see the backlash Sophie's getting, like when you got the city of Cleveland and Detroit tweeting out at her and all this wild stuff for saying, yeah, players don't really want to play there. But anyway, let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments below. One, the cities that were picked, why they were picked, also what you think about how fast they're expanding and what that means to the quality of the product. So anyway, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you as always. Go have the day you deserve, and I will talk to you later.